Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are the snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, altcoins. Where is the market headed overall? Because let me tell you, oh my God, price action has been super aggressive the last couple of weeks. We've seen Bitcoin rise to practically almost all-time highs within a, 6-7 week span. If we count right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7. We are in the current 7th week. And this is why I was telling people not to panic. Okay. This is why I tell people, listen, guys, like the market moves in bursts. When things start pumping, they recover so damn quick. You don't think investors, institutions, countries, and everything want to make money on their bag? They are going to be pumping that shit up so quick. And that is just reality. I've seen this with the S&P 500. I've seen this with stocks before. I've seen this with everything. Once something crashes and consolidates and pulls back, whatever, yada, 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 the pullback is the rise up is super quick. And once we start bursting out, oh my God, it's going to feel like we're unstoppable for the next few months. Now, before we jump into the analysis and some other stuff, shout out to our sponsor. Big shout out to Uber Eats for sponsoring this video. First 50 people get $20 off their first 2 meals, which means you can literally eat for free. Just use the code on your screen or the link in the description below. But yeah, guys, your first 2 meals, you can get literally for free, right? Minimum order $15, get $20 off. I mean, literally free. So yeah, listen, anyways, look, we are looking to be taking out all-time highs. I believe, we're going to be doing that soon. Now, there's two things. Number one is taking out all-time highs. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 possibilities. All-time highs, right? And then kind of sweeping back down, doing something like this before we go, right? Boom. Okay. Option number 2 is we sweep the all-time highs, right? We sweep the all-time highs, and then we consolidate for a little bit more or less near the all-time highs, and then we start bursting up. Now, look, the option number 3 can also happen. It is we sweep liquidity, we just go consolidate for a little bit, and then practically a week later, we can burst, right? We've seen it here. Once we were breaking above a certain point, we were breaking out of this zone. We were on top of it. We consolidated for about a week, right? We had a little bit of retracement. We're consolidating, confirming. Then we had a fake out. And then the 3rd week, we already pumped. I think, most likely this scenario is going to happen, right? Where we actually don't chill on top of the all-time highs for too long. And the reason why I say this is because, ladies and gentlemen, if we add an indicator, right, the global liquidity index, we'll be able to see that something like Bitcoin, right, is actually pretty damn delayed when it comes to the liquidity. Okay, so we can see, ladies and gentlemen, right, if we take here this tool and we go like this and we take it to this point over here, we can see that's 91 days from the last green high candle, right? The last green weekly candle. Then if we take it from the bottom up here, take it to the last red candle, boom, 91 days. Okay, and what do we overall see when it comes to the actual indicator itself, right? This has been going up for weeks now, literally weeks. And we are delayed, right? We are delayed by roughly 90 days. So, it's good. It's good. I like the fact that we are delayed. Some people think, this indicator is actually that Bitcoin is in front, which doesn't make sense at all. Then some people think, it's matching perfectly. Depending on the time frame and settings you use, we can potentially see that. But overall, I do believe this liquidity index is a lagging indicator. Bitcoin's lagging behind the liquidity, right? So we've seen liquidity have been rising and rising, took a little bit of a dip, but it looks like it's going to rise again, which we talked about, right? If we take the top of the dip or top point before we dip and we go to 91 days, we can see that's going to be mid-July. So what's most likely going to happen is that we will start breaking out sooner than later because we have so much liquidity. We have consistent liquidity. And we can see, right? We can see that if we actually go from the liquidity bottom to the last red candle, it was 91 days. And if we actually go to something like this, where we take this bottom before we exploded and go over here, we can see we're at 84 days, right? 84 days. So 91 would be next week as the final like pullback bottom type thing before we explode. Okay, because if we go take it from the bottom of here to where we're currently at, right, one more week, we're at 91 days, and that would be the bottom. And then after that, we can see the yellow exploded out. It exploded out. So Bitcoin is most likely going to explode, you know, in that 2 to 3 week time frame like we talked about. This week is probably going to take out the all-time highs. Next week it is probably going to, you know, fake us out, pull back a little bit, and the week after that is most likely going to be exploding, just even based off the liquidity index. Okay, so yeah, and then like I said, after that we should be looking to kind of be going consistently up until mid-July. After mid-July, we might consolidate for a little bit before we get our final pushes, right? We push up to whatever. I do believe we could hit 150K this cycle, if not even higher. Once we do push there, then of course it's going to start slowing down. Then everything's going to start shifting. And that's when, of course, altcoin season is going to become more relevant. Okay. So, you know, based off that, I did think previously, right, when we're looking at the 3-month candles, that, hey, you know, altcoin season could happen, you know, late summer to early fall. Now that is going to still be a possibility, right? Us peaking, whether it's in July, August, or September, but it also might lead slightly into fall, like October, November. So what we more or less are getting down the time frame, right? I know it's a couple months, but you got to realize, you know, the context does matter. And, you know, some people think, you know, the end of the year. Some people think, you know, in a month's time. For me, it's most likely going to be like that August, September time is when altcoins really start peaking. Now, speaking about altcoins, right? If we remove everything and go to the altcoin index, here's the thing that I don't like / depending on your perspective. Overall, right, if we do start closing below this yellow line, ladies and gentlemen, then there's a good chance that we will go to the 6.40%. Now, for me, I don't mind these dips. I really don't. I think, you know, it's a good opportunity to potentially be buying and, you know, double downing on certain positions. But just know, if we come to this area, this is going to be your final prime time to buy, right? Because we can see every time that we have a big pullback, we have a burst to the upside. And once we burst the upside, altcoin season practically just, you know, altcoins are recovering and altcoin season is just around the corner in the next couple months. So we are in this stage right now. We are literally right here. We are right over here, right? Right over here, potentially breaking lower and potentially coming back to a certain zone, right? Literally the same thing, right? We are coming here, potentially going lower than this zone. And once we break the zone, coming into this zone over here, this rectangular box. And like I said, I expect things to go nuclear. I expect things to kind of go like this, boom, recover quickly. We start reclaiming levels at a very, very rapid pace. And we most likely will claim these all-time highs. And we most likely, you know, a fair percentages go to roughly 25%, somewhere over here. And yeah, altcoin season is going to be absolutely crazy. The money is going to be crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everything made sense. Love you guys so much. Highly recommend for you guys to join the Discord and community. And of course, if you want to get educated, highly recommend buying the course. You'll know everything from A to Z. That is it. Hope you guys did enjoy. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.